All right, so I believe that Tank Davis could beat Sebastian Fundora. Of course, not actually, because Tank is a lightweight. Fundora is a 154-pound heavyweight who's been accused of being a weight bully. So Tank is nowhere near the weight class of Fundora. But when I watched Keith Thurman fight Fundora, and I watched how upright he was, it actually reminded me of when Tank fought Mario Barrios. Tank, he started out upright because he fights in a style that has some similarities to Floyd. You know what I mean? Like a high IQ, high athletic, um, reflex based style. And he does it at a distance. He takes calculated risk. But the major difference between Keith Thurman and Floyd or Tank is that Thurman was too upright. He never changed levels. Both Floyd and Tank have shown that if they fight somebody taller than them, they will change levels. And instead of being upright and tall, they'll crouch, they'll bend down, and even come up punching like a Joe Frazier. Tank is able to be aggressive without being reckless. That's what he did against Barrios. And he actually put his lead hand out and touched Barrios to slowly walk him down while he was picking his shots and waiting. And when Barrios would punch, Tank would jump back or do a defensive move, sometimes even bending down with his head parallel to the ground, making himself really small so Barrios couldn't just punch down on him with his height. That's what Keith Thurman needed to do. Keith Thurman was unable to do that because he doesn't have it in his arsenal. He likes to fight upright. He likes to fight with lateral movement. Lateral movement against somebody that's way bigger than you isn't recommended. It's a lot of wasted energy. That's why Sugar Ray Leonard had to stop moving around and start walking Tommy Hearns down. So the guy that beats Sebastian Fundora has to be someone that's not reckless, but also aggressive. Has to be somebody that's comfortable with coming forward. And they have to be throwing bombs because Fundora is throwing bombs. So the only way you're going to stop his bombs is with bombs. If you look at fighters in history, they've used the same tactics with different variations. So Tank, when he was walking down Barrios, he had his lead hand pressing up against Barrios, touching him, measuring him, and then picking his spots, right? And Barrios got tired because constantly he knows that Tank is right there. He's not running. So that way you stop the big guy from having a momentum advantage. Joe Louis did what Tank was doing against Buddy Bear, who was like 6'5", 250, 260. This is a big guy. Now Joe Louis was 6'1" or 6'2" himself. He was a taller guy as well. But the fact of the matter is he was using some of the same tactics against somebody that outweighed him by 40 or 50 pounds. So Joe used his rear hand in the way that Tank was using his lead hand. Now Tank and Barrios was southpaw versus orthodox. Joe and Buddy was orthodox versus orthodox. And Joe would catch and parry with his lead hand because that's the defense that he was taught. He also knew how to roll his body and get smaller as well if you really study him. But that was the way that Tank was utilizing his lead hand. When Barrios would throw something or attempt to throw something, Tank would parry it or use it as a way to feel when Barrios is going to throw, to duck, dodge, or just get out of the way. Joe Louis was using it to parry, to catch, or to just be at a certain distance to where so he felt that punch and blocked it and he could come back countering. You got Joe Frazier. Joe Frazier versus Muhammad Ali. Frazier was 5'10", right? Fighting that heavyweight like Mike Tyson. Really an undersized heavyweight. Fighting against a 6'3" Muhammad Ali. But he didn't get done like how Keith Thurman got done. You know why? Constant head movement, constant bobbing, constant weaving, right? Constantly bending at the waist, constantly making himself smaller. So, and he was coming forward against Ali, and Frazier would come up punching, come up hooking. That's how he was able to beat Ali that first fight. So, in order to beat Sebastian Fundora, you need a style like Tank or like Joe Louis, like a Floyd Mayweather when he's up against somebody who has longer arms than him, which is rare, but we've seen how he gets down. Or Joe Frazier, somebody that knows how to make themselves small, somebody that's aggressive without being reckless, somebody that has counter punching ability, and somebody that has power. A person like that would dismantle Sebastian Fundora. That's not Keith Thurman. You know, Keith's style was just a horrible mismatch for Fundora's style. That's why he got done the way that he got done. But once again, a guy like Tim Zhu, who pressed the issue, he had some success against Fundora. So that's the key. But y'all let me know what y'all think.